Good fences make good neighbors. This is a repetitive line in Robert Frost's poem, Mending Wall. Good fences make good neighbors. Do you believe that to be true? In response to the Pharisees' love of money, Jesus tells a difficult parable to hear. The difficulty is not in deciphering the meaning, because Jesus is pretty clear and upfront here. The difficulty comes in placing ourselves within the story. Who are we in the story? Who are we in the story? I would assume that identifying with Lazarus is not the first character that draws likeness to our situation. Lazarus, a beggar on the outside, fading away from this world, crying out in hunger, only wanting the crumbs that fall from the rich man's leftovers. Lazarus lives a life unnoticed. The only ones in the story who notice him are the dogs that, along with his empty stomach, continually gnaw at him. Who would want to identify with this character in the story? Then we have the rich man, dressed in purple and fine linens, with abundance of material and opportunity around him. The rich man lives a life of comfort and consumption. He lives a life of security and protection as well, signified by the gate that houses Lazarus. Does this sound more like you in the story? More like your situation? We can relate to and choose to identify with the rich man. We do not want to, or even in truth can imagine a life of such need as Lazarus. So we choose the perspective of the rich, at least as the story begins. The rich man's world collides with that of Lazarus at the gate, and they meet only in proximity. The rich man does not see Lazarus. Yet as the story continues, they will meet again, this time in death. As Jesus introduces the two characters in the parable, an abrupt turn transitions the story from life here on earth to life after death. The rich man, looking up from Hades, now seeing Lazarus comforted in the arms of Abraham, cries out. In verse 26, Abraham replies, "Between you and us, a great chasm has been fixed." The ever-widening gap between the rich and the poor, the haves and the have-nots, between the privileged and the oppressed, is one of the most pressing issues of the day. I ask, however, what are the great chasms of this world that keep us separated? Is it the gap of opportunity? The gap in education? The gap in government or private funding? The gap in resources and in employment? These chasms that separate perhaps were not intentional, but nevertheless it needs our time and our full undivided attention in order to see the other in need and then respond. And I want to press a little further for us to consider something deeper, something more internal. Besides the systemic, external, cultural, and societal chasms, I wonder what gates within ourselves keep us from responding. Perhaps it is fear. Perhaps it is the possibility that our actions may indeed cause change. Perhaps that gate that is inside us is our need for certitude, our need for certainty, our need for a sign that we can change the course of this life for ourselves and for others, to change the direction in order to follow the way that is the truth about life. It is our calling as disciples of Christ to be courageous in stepping across the chasms of this world, opening the gates of comfort to see the other in need. So who do you identify with in this story? Lazarus? The poor man on the fringes of life, desperate in his despair, invisible to those who could actually help? The rich man, dressed in comfort, living a life of luxury and plenty, kept safe and secure behind the gate. Or maybe you're like me, and you come to identify yourself with the 5 brothers. They are the ones who still have the opportunity to act, to change the course of their life, still have time to courageously and vulnerably step across the chasms of this world, to see and respond in love. Good fences make good neighbors. May we consider, as did Frost, this: before I built a wall, I'd ask to know what I was walling in and what I was walling out.